it's Dr. Jan with some wise words to work with, and I'm here to talk to you about accountability. I'm a huge fan of accountability in organizations. I think it's the number one area where organizations lack, and that lacking of accountability leads to toxicity, bully culture, sexual harassment, racism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but what is it and why isn't it happening? Accountability is twofold. It is making sure that you're meeting your job um, responsibilities, that you're doing what you're hired to do, okay, and also making sure that you're treating your colleagues and your coworkers and your clients the way that they should be treated, okay, and that shouldn't be that hard, should it? Well, it's much more difficult than most things in organizations, okay? But the other thing I want to say too is when we have, if you don't have a detailed division of labor, right? If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing at your job, okay? So higher education, I think, is a great example. I worked in higher education over 20 years and never had a detailed job responsibility list of what I was supposed to be doing. Okay, I was supposed to just know, and there was never any conversations or policies around how I should act, how I should treat students, how I should treat my colleagues. And so when you don't have anything written down, okay, it's hard to hold people accountable. And the reason things weren't written down is so you didn't have to hold people accountable. Right? And so it's a double-edged sword. If you want to hold people accountable, then you should have policies and procedures about what people should be doing and the standards of professional behavior. Those should not be seen as threats. Those should be seen as a must in every organization. Okay. And so the reason in higher education people don't want standards like that is because then they have to adhere to those. Okay. So I think that should be something that you should think about. If we have standards, people have to adhere to them. Okay. And then we have to hold them accountable. So who holds you accountable? Well, you should hold yourself accountable. Okay. And your supervisor should hold you accountable. You should also be able to hold your supervisor accountable. And then, of course, as it goes up the chain of command. Okay. But why is accountability something that is lacking in a large majority of organizations in the United States? Well, first off, we're not teaching people how to hold people accountable. First off, because it's a lot of work. And oftentimes when we look at accountability, what we see is negative, negative, negative. And yes, holding somebody accountable can be negative. Okay. But it could also be seen and should be seen as a growth opportunity, a professional growth opportunity. Okay. Because I'm a firm believer that everybody in every organization across the globe has areas where they can improve. And accountability is about helping people identify those areas of growth and then working with them. Okay. But let's talk about why leaders don't hold others accountable. I said that it's because it's a lot of work and they don't have the skills. Okay. And I think that's 100% true. And I also think the second thing is if I'm a leader and I'm doing something, okay, and that has set the standard. Okay. So if I am mistreating my clients, that sets the standard for the bar pretty low. Okay. And I'm not going to hold people accountable to a standard that I'm not meeting myself. Okay. And so a lot of times when we look at accountability, we can look right up the chain of command and people know what's going on and they're seeing it happen and they don't care that it's going on. Okay. So in higher education, we had faculty yelling and mistreating students. Okay. Students with disabilities, students, students who were students of color, and nobody cared because those people up the higher chain of command were doing the same thing. And so they don't want to be a hypocrite a lot of times, so they won't hold that person accountable. And also, to ignore it is easy. To hold people accountable to a standard takes a lot of work. Okay. Because if somebody is engaging in toxic work environment and abusive behavior towards your clients, you might have to micromanage that person for a while. You're going to have to keep your eyes open to see what's going to happen. And a lot of times when you draw the line in the sand and you say, I'm going to hold you accountable, there's a lot of pushback. Okay. But we should be holding people accountable. So a lot of times leaders don't have the skills, leaders don't have the time, and leaders just don't care. Okay. But leaders also then need to be held accountable. And we need to make sure when we are in organizations where leadership doesn't have the skills to do those things, that we help them develop the skills. And that's why I think one of the things all organizations should do should have clear division of labor, and also what skills are also required for those things. So you might say, oh, we need somebody to do customer service, at agency ABC. Well, customer service, in my opinion, has a lot of skills that could fall under there. What specifically do you need? So organizations need to be more specific about the task and skill requirements for each position. They need to have detailed responsibilities or job responsibilities to help people know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And then the most important thing they can do is make sure you have leaders who have integrity, who can be held accountable, who can hold people accountable, and also who are willing to grow professionally. And that is so important. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at jan@stopbullyculture.com, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.